Welcome to Chik, the podcast where the girl with many titles talks about life, the good and the bad, and everything around it. We're going to sit, chat, share life stories and experiences, from business to relationship. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chik podcast. You are joined by Chik. So this week I thought it'd be good to talk about marriage, wedding planning. As a 2025 bride, I think I'm going to be. It's been interesting, to say the least. So, we'll get straight into it. Right, so let's start with my win of the week or tip of the week. Not win of the week. See, my brain's already going. Honestly, do you know what? Actually, I should pre-warn you that this is probably also the reason I want to do this podcast. I am tired mentally. I am just, so challenge of the week or tip of the week. My challenge of the week, I guess, is taking things slowly, because my body's literally saying you need to take things slowly. So whenever I'm starting to go through difficult periods, my brain just deletes stuff, and it's really hard to kind of think straight, memory wise. Like it's terrible. So that's my current challenge of the week. All right, let's get into it. So as you'll know by now, me and G getting married, which is really exciting. However, I am an oldest immigrant daughter, a CEO, a COO, and an influencer. And with all of that comes different levels of work. And honestly, wedding planning on its own could be a whole new job. It is a whole new job, because when you look at the amount of emails I'm having to send, the organisation that I need to be able to do, it is just a lot. And I wanted to do this podcast because I haven't seen many people that have gone through this process from a self-employed perspective, I guess, talk about it, and from a self-employed and an oldest daughter type perspective, or at least an only child perspective, where like you basically, if you've grown up before your time and all of a sudden you're having to plan this wedding, and you used to be a people pleaser, mental health wise you haven't been okay, like it's just the podcast for you, because I wish that I had something like this that would just help me like narrow things down. And don't get me wrong, like, I've had great advice, but I think it's only once you get started you realise that, it's that whole thing of like, you can't have it all. Like, that saying was made in a way that's silly anyway, because no one can have it all. So the first kind of thing that I have learned is that you need to have a good idea of what you want for your day, because once you start involving family and other people, it quickly gets confusing, it quickly gets overwhelming, and it all just, like, I can't lie, when we first got engaged, I looked at stuff before we got engaged, because I knew I had an idea of what I wanted, and then we did get engaged, and then life was happening, and I just thought, I'm not gonna lie, can't be bothered. This is not worth my headache right now when I've got a business to run and I've got other things to think about. And then we had some news that basically meant like I need to kind of get the ball rolling, and that I'll come back to that in a sec, because that's my next point. But that whole period of then not doing anything to then coming back to doing stuff, and then having other people's opinions coming in. And again, it's not even like it's all negative stuff. It's just people are trying to give you advice, but their advice isn't always based off of what you would want. So you kind of do need to figure out an idea of what you want and have a general idea of like the whole layout, prices, all of that before you go and present it to other people, because again, everyone's budgets would be different, everyone's priorities would be different. So I'll give you the example of me and G. Me and G care about the marriage, not the day. So whilst in my head the ideal situation would be to spend 2 or 3 days with the people that we love the most, we agreed that we wanted to have a joint hen and stag do, because neither of us really drink, and what's the point in doing like separate stuff? It's not, we don't look at it in terms of like, oh, it's your last night of freedom, all that type of stuff. So again, why would we not want to do that together? That's just a preference that we have, which like my family don't get, because they're going, oh well, we went to like Chloe's, my sister-in-law's hen do. We went to your brother's stag do. You organised your brother's stag do. Why would you not keep them separate? But again, that's just an us thing. And then the day itself, whilst we're thinking about a marriage, like family, especially being an immigrant daughter, there'll be family that would want to come over. There are family looking at it as, oh, this is exciting. It's now the girls' turn. So when it's the girls' turn, we have more say and so on. It's like, well, no, because one, we've got a budget. Two, we know what we don't want. And three, you can give us advice, but it doesn't mean that we're going to take it. And sometimes I think people find that hard to digest and hard to hear. So, yes, have a good idea of what you want, list it all, put it in a folder, put it online, do whatever you need to do, but just make sure it makes sense to you so that when you're talking to people, you know what you want. It doesn't mean that you turn around and say, this is all I want and that has to be it. You just have to be flexible with it. And that leads me on to my next point where I was talking about, like, sometimes life happens. So, like I said, we got some news that meant that I looked at everything differently again. So where originally I'd said, oh, we're going to get married this October. And because it's just, if it was up to G, it would just be an elopement. Me and him go off somewhere, come back, say, we're married, we're going to do a party next year, and that'd be it. Whereas I didn't want that. I can't lie. As time has gone on, I have thought more and more that would have been a good idea. But I want my mum and dad there. I want my brother and my sister-in-law, my niece there. I want my best friend there. So there's also an element of it where it's like you've got to kind of sacrifice something to get what you want. And when you get news that you're not expecting and you're having to deal with other life stuff, it puts things into perspective. And for me, that perspective has been great, but also been really stressful because you're also trying not to please others because you don't want to upset people whilst they're going through stuff. And whilst I can't talk about the actual context of what's happening, I hope that makes sense, that life happens, things keep going, other people's lives keep going. So again, whilst the wedding might be the priority for you, it might not be for everyone else. And again, whilst it's a priority for everyone else, it might not be for you. Actually, this also leads us quite well into the segue of how am I actually doing? Do you know what? I think it's been a difficult few weeks, mentally and physically. I'm trying to balance everything. Like I've said, I'm trying to prioritize and just get on with some of the bits for the wedding. But right now, mentally, I'm struggling a bit, but I'm okay. It's really weird because I guess one of my coping mechanisms is work. So when things are difficult in life and I can't have control over the things I'd want to have control over and I can't protect the people I want to protect, my go-to is work. So work, absolutely thriving. On top of everything, I'm pretty sure my team at the moment just think I'm some deranged person because a lot, especially because of the COO work I do, I've had to kind of say that I might not be available within my business full time the way that I have been. And that has to look different and everyone's roles have to kind of change and people have to step up. And that's a part of, again, being a business owner and having a successful business that I didn't, with staff that I didn't expect would be an issue. It's just been, it's just been odd. So yeah, it's tiring, but also it's been really good because it makes me focus on being intentional. And for next year, I do want to slow things down and focus on just like my CEO work and the business and maybe bits of my personal brand, which, like, I talked to my therapist about this and she was like, is that actually slowing down? Because it still sounds like you're going to be really busy and you're getting married. But I think that's stuff that I can kind of juggle. I just need to get it into my head what that's going to look like, but give myself the grace and the patience to not have everything and like be perfect. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. It's a lot. And I guess I don't completely know how to react, how to feel, how I should feel on the outside, but the outside me is composed, is getting stuff done. Inside me, yeah, that's another story. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it is over the next few weeks, and I guess you guys will be kept up to date anyway. Right, back to my list. The other bits that I would advise would be, especially if you're self-employed or you are someone in a job that's highly stressful, it's to block out time specifically for wedding stuff or specifically for planning, because I can't lie, like I've just said, originally I was like, we'll get married this October. and then it was, we'll be married by next October. And if I keep leaving it, I could leave it for years and it wouldn't be a priority because straight away I've gone, whilst my priority was I want to be married before I have kids, I also looked at some of this and went, do I actually care that much? Because this is effort. Maybe I want to get married after having a kid. And I went through all of this, but I know where I've been. I know what I've been like talking about. So yeah, block out specific time to go through your wedding stuff, because if you don't, you'll get overwhelmed and it could easily be pushed, and something that you were planning to do within a year or 2 or 3 becomes 5 years, 10 years, and it just keeps getting pushed. I'm going to try the whole blocking out time myself from this weekend, and yeah, it makes me nervous. We'll see how it goes, because in that, my next idea is be clear between you and your spouse the parts that you both want to do together and the parts that like the other person doesn't care about. Because for me and G, for example, all the admin stuff G does not care about whatsoever. We'll be getting married in a Catholic church and G's not religious, anything like that. So there's stuff that just makes sense in terms of how we live at home and how we live our lives, versus some bits like I wasn't expecting. He wants to be there to see me try on wedding dresses because it's something that like he cares about fashion and he knows me and he knows that he can advise me. Will he see the final dress? No, he won't see me choose anything, but he'll be there to give me advice. So very much like break down everything that entails as part of the wedding, and then break down the bits that both of you are going to be involved in, the stuff that each of you are going to go away and do separately and then come present with each other. Because like I'm saying, when I'm talking about talking G through kind of like where things are, I'll be giving him a PowerPoint, and in that PowerPoint he will see everything. And I've created an online folder as well as a physical folder where I update everything for family as well, so they can see kind of where we are. So for me, that PowerPoint is just going to be then something that I add to the folder and say, right, here's where we are. And then for my family, I'll go over, for G's family, go over. I can give them the PowerPoint, or I can just show them kind of where we are and what's going on. But I think that part of it is really important, because weddings also just bring up stress that you guys don't need as a couple. And I think I've seen a lot of people online talk about like that's when they started arguing and all these things started coming up. And it's never a you two issue. It's normally an issue to do with someone else. So as long as you two are firm on who's doing what and how you guys support each other and talk about things, that is all that matters. Next, and maybe last bit of advice, we'll see, is so advice I was given from my sister-in-law, which I absolutely loved, was the fact, actually, do you know what, I'm going to add on to this. So I was given advice by my sister-in-law and advice by my best friend. And my best friend's also getting married next year. My sister-in-law obviously got married to my brother this year. My sister-in-law said, weddings look different. They come in various ways. You will not get absolutely everything because there are different variations of weddings. So no matter what, you just need to make sure that you'll be happy with whatever that looks like. So for us, for example, it's either that we're going to have like a 2-3 day long thing where we all spend time together around the same area house, or we have the one day where it is in like a hotel or that type of place, and another day where we just meet up in town and like do a bottomless brunch type of thing. That doesn't change the fact that we'll still be spending most of our time with the closest family and friends that we have, but it does change what that would look like, because again, pricing wise, we are looking at, okay, what's cheaper? Is it cheaper to rent out a place, or is it cheaper to go and just have a venue and then do the other bits separately, because we can go to a restaurant, we can book everything in advance, those types of things. So yeah, don't have your heart set too much on like one particular type. Just know what your core values are, know what you want to get out of the wedding, and then plan around that. And to go with that, my best friend also said that the wedding's about you and your partner. So you can't care about family. Obviously you care, but you can't make it about them. And for me, for example, and my best friend's an oldest daughter as well. So as families, parents want their people to be there. Me and G originally started off with a list of 19 main people. And I can't lie, that 19 was also being very, very harsh. Because what happens, I've got a huge family. G doesn't. So for me, what might be inviting two people, you then go, oh, well, like they've got children and they've got children, or they've got extended partners and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden it's gone from two people to six people to more people. So it's like, again, way up. Um, and you're going to offend people anyway. So honestly, you're better off just doing you. And I think the one thing is, and why I wanted to do this is like a self-employed oldest daughter perspective, from that perspective, is because you can't make everyone happy. You can't keep everyone happy. As long as you remind yourself that you're not a bad person, but you do have to be selfish in a good way, because this is going to be your day, and a whole day that you spend either having to pretend you're happy or actually being happy. Which would you rather? You would rather actually be happy. So if that means that you've got to go through whatever now that's going to make things uncomfortable for a little bit of time until the wedding, do it. I went back to therapy knowing that things would kick off. I wasn't aware of what would be happening, but I just knew that life was going to be life and people would have opinions, and I wouldn't know how to kind of say no and put my foot down. Whereas it's very clear now that actually I also went back because I want to make sure that like G feels seen and heard in everything that we're doing and across like the family setting, but also I feel seen and heard when I'm talking to G and I'm deciding things with my parents, my family, and his family, and so on. So yeah, my biggest bit of advice is, do you make sure you're happy with the day that you're going to have. Make sure that you've got the finances to do what you need, because it's one day. I very much look at it as we have a home. We're really lucky. We don't have to worry about when we're going to have kids and what that's going to look like. Of course, financially, like you worry about those things, but everything else is set for us. So for us, we were never going to spend 20 grand on one day because we want to travel. We have thought about, like, even a honeymoon, I'll be working away. Like, I love doing the nomad side of it. 20 grand could keep us away for months. Absolutely months. So, yeah, is the priority for us a day or a marriage? And for us, it's a marriage. So I think, yeah, just be clear on what you want and why, because people will have opinions and advice, and you just need to firm your side of it and know that it's coming from a place where you and your partner are happy with it, and anyone else that's got advice or anything else, you can take that or leave it. If they're going to be offended or upset, that's on them. It's nothing to do with you. But yeah, if you've got any questions or you want to know kind of what's going on, I'm going to try and start posting a bit more of like the wedding content side of it. But yeah, like I was saying, I'd thought about it logistically before, whereas now I'm like, okay, what vibe do I want? What look and feel do I want? What's all this going to be like? And I think I'm going to spend some time this weekend also like creating a vision board that puts together, because I'm thinking cottage core meets quiet luxury type thing, and we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, overall it's still like, it is an exciting period, and it's really nice to be able to look at life at the moment and go, for everything that goes wrong in life and for all the things that we can't predict and the things that would be very upsetting, there's so much that goes on that's positive. And I guess it's the positive things as well to kind of try and focus on more than the negatives, and that's definitely what I'm trying to do. So yeah, let's end this with a win of the week. What's my win of the week? Do you know what? I said to my team last week, my win of the week was surviving. But I'm not going to say that again. My win of the week this week actually was, I've got hiccups. What is going on? My win of the week this week was the fact that I managed to take self-care and do absolutely nothing. I binge watched most of Love is Blind. I just had a day after therapy of nothing. I talked to G about a bit about therapy. We watched some podcasts. But yeah, it was great. So that's my win. I actually shut off and did nothing. Although actually I posted a couple of TikToks, but I've not been posting TikToks. So yeah, I'm still taking that as a win, because it then opened up the energy to be able to do other things. But yeah, that's me. I'm going to leave that there because I can smell food downstairs and I want food. So yeah, like I said, if you've got any questions or comments or advice, anything like that, feel free to send it, add it to add it to the comment section, because I'm sure you'll be able to help loads of other people as well as me. And if you've been through all of this as well, like, yes, happy days. Like, we would absolutely love to know what you went through and any tips or tricks that you'd have as someone that's self-employed, an oldest daughter, someone that's just got married, someone that's a mix of all of these things. And in the meantime, keep liking, subscribing, and doing all the bits that you do because I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.